He was still small enough to fit in one human hand when the box was left on the sidewalk. At first, he thought it was a game. The box rocked slightly as the night wind passed by, and he curled up tighter, waiting for familiar footsteps. He waited for a voice. He waited for warmth. But the sounds only moved farther away, swallowed by traffic and distance. The night grew colder. When the box was knocked over by accident, the kitten tumbled onto the pavement. The street was nothing like the quiet place he remembered. It was loud, endless, and full of danger. Lights burned his eyes. Strange smells filled the air. Fear settled deep inside his tiny chest. He cried until his voice turned hoarse. Then he cried again and again. No one came. By morning, he was too tired to make a sound. The days that followed were cruel teachers. Hunger became his shadow. Rain soaked his fur and clung to his bones. Bigger animals chased him away from scraps. Humans stepped over him as if he didn't exist. Sometimes someone noticed him, not to help, but to push him away. Little by little, the kitten learned the rules of the street: where to hide, when to run, how to stay invisible. He learned that kindness was rare, but survival was possible. Then one evening, something different filled the air. Music. It slipped through the alley softly, like a promise. A guitar string hummed. A quiet beat followed. A voice sang, tired, but full of hope. The kitten followed the sound. Under a flickering streetlight stood 3 street musicians. Their clothes were worn, their instruments scratched, but their music felt alive. They noticed the kitten watching from the shadows, his eyes wide and cautious. Instead of shooing him away, one of them knelt down and placed a small piece of food on the ground. The kitten hesitated. The street had taught him not to trust, but hunger won. That night, he didn't sleep alone. He curled up inside an open guitar case, listening to stories told through music. Songs about loss, about dreams, about believing in tomorrow even when today was hard.
We don't know what tomorrow brings. Yesterday won't come back again. The city teaches us to walk without a map through joy and pain. Some fall down and rise once more. Some stay quiet but scream inside.
Night after night he came back. The musicians started calling him lucky, not because his life had been easy, but because he was still here. As weeks turned into months, the kitten grew. His fur became thicker, his eyes sharper. His fear slowly faded, replaced by confidence. He sat beside the musicians as if he belonged there, watching people stop, smile, and listen. Some came for the music. Some came for the cat. Coins filled the case. Smiles became common. And for the first time, the kitten knew what it felt like to be wanted. One day, the musicians were invited to play on a real stage. Real lights, real speakers, a real audience. They almost didn't bring the cat, but Lucky followed them anyway. When the lights turned on, he sat at the edge of the stage, calm and proud. No longer a forgotten kitten. No longer invisible, just a cat who survived the street and found a family where no one expected one. Because sometimes life doesn't begin with love. Sometimes it begins with loss, and yet somehow it always finds its way back to what your soul truly longs for.
Every heart has its own scars. Every soul fights its own war. But if a melody stands beside you, While we're still here, we're breathing.